I mean, it really makes you, I think Shane and Eric, like I had studied film so much and how to make a movie, and when we started making the movie, I think they were blown away. And I think anybody who makes a movie, you're immediately blown away about how much you've been tricked your entire life to think something is happening that's not really happening. Because a movie is unlike life. You know, life, there's a peripheral things going around. You can turn your head, you can see. Like a movie, the only thing that's happening is what fits inside the little square. So, you know, I remember when I was a kid and I watched like some like behind the scenes of Indiana Jones, and I remember like they were looking, some shot where they were looking through the camera, and then they cut and you see what they're actually filming, and it's like, oh, outside of that frame there's like 40 dudes. Yeah. There's a guy hanging a mic, and there's like all of these people, and like, but I don't know that. They have totally taken me like somewhere. And so, you know, when we first started the movie, the first scene we filmed was the scene where they're in the van and they had just got into the altercation at the gas station. And so it's nighttime and they're driving the van at night on the way to the hotel. And I was like, we'll do that scene first. We'll try to, because we need to try to do something and see if it's going to work and stuff with you guys and figure out your characters and stuff. And then they're like, well, how are we going to do it? Like, are you going to mount the camera? And I'm like, no, I mean, we're not going to mount the camera. I'm going to put the camera on a tripod in my driveway, and we're going to shoot you through the window. It's going to be dark. I'll be tied up, so just the front windshield is in it. Then I'll blast moonlight come in from the side, and then I'll have what looks like street lights. And, you know, basically what I did is I had a camera on a tripod, I had them talking, I had my foot on the bumper of the truck, and I had a tennis racket, and I just bounced the truck and I waved that tennis racket back and forth over that light to make it go across their face periodically, like they were moving. And then they were just doing that. And I had my friend, they came up, we did it, and then they came in and looked at it, and they were like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, wait till I put like the sound of the car running and then cars driving by, and nobody will ever know that that's how we did it. And then from that moment on, like you realize like, oh, this is what movie making is. Like it's constantly trying to like convince people that something's happening that's really not happening, you know? I mean, obviously in modern movies, you know, you go to those sets and like, you know, like a Marvel movie, and it's just like in a giant green room. It's all fake, you know. But just like simple things like that, and once you start understanding like the trickery that's going on when you watch movies, you can see it all the time now. Like movies that you never thought about, you've watched a million times, you know, like. I remember there's a couple things I had to do ADR on because the audio was messed up at the time, and we had to go and replace the audio. And I was like, oh man, this ADR is just so hard to get sounding natural. Like, you know, you were recording it in this one space and now you're in a different space and you're trying to get it to match. And I remember one night after I was doing it, I was like, my wife went to bed and I was like watching TV with the headphones on, and I watched The Temple of Doom came on, and I was like, oh my God, half of this movie is ADR. I never noticed it. It all sounds like it was recorded in a studio. Yeah. Like, so weird. Yeah. Like you just never realize stuff like that. Yeah, that's what good storytelling is. It's like you're watching a movie, and even people who make movies and know how they work, like it's the same with any kind of art. It's the same when like you're listening to a record. It's like, the only things that you should not do in any art form are the things that take somebody out of being in what they're experiencing. So like, you know, like if you're listening to a record and there's like just really bad, some crazy like, you know, like 1 to 3K range, just ear spiking, and you just cannot, you know, it's just, you know, hurting your ears, like you're never going to be able to get into it. Or if somebody's just way out of tune, or if the tempo of the song is just all over the place, and you constantly, you're like, oh, I'm listening to human beings playing music as opposed to something bigger is what you want it to happen. It's the same way when you're watching a movie. It's like, or the same way when you're reading something. You don't want to read something and there's just so many typos and grammatical mistakes that you're constantly reminded that you're reading. You want to use the other part of your brain that takes you somewhere else. And so that's like the one thing that I was trying to do the most with making the movie, is try to do stuff that doesn't take you out of it. But it's like so impossible to do, like especially when you've never done stuff before like that. And also it's like you're doing it so fast, so quick, and with no team, no gaffers, no grips, no first ACs, no nothing. Like there's just me and then like musician friends acting. Yeah, and there's no rehearsal either. So it's like, I'd have the audio gear on me. I'd have to lav everybody up, hide it, have the audio gear on me, then get the camera, and then, I'd have all my lights and I'd have to set up the lights, and then like, most of the time I had all that stuff on me, and then I'd have to be like moving a light, and yeah, it was a lot. I know all the references, it's like producing. It's like I've studied records and listened to everything and had a phase with everything you can possibly dream of, Same with movies. I've gone through, I'm a cinephile, so I've just watched everything, Like I watch sometimes 2, if not 3 movies a day a lot of times. Like, yeah. Because I'm watching a kid a lot, and so I can't really do anything. So I'm usually always watching a movie in the morning when I first wake up, and then, then I'll watch. Like if I'm watching him, I'll try. I might be able to squeeze another one, but I'll usually always watch one at night. And so I'll just pick. What I would do forever is I would pick like a director or a genre. I'd be like, this is French New Wave month, and I just go through them, right. I'd be like Kurosawa week, So many of those things that I stole that are in Presto that like are so many cinephile-y type of things. Like I would be watching something and like, there's a scene in Mr. Presto where we had the last day of shooting. It was impossible for me to get Mike, who played the Magic Man, and to get John Latham, who played Willie, in the same place at one time, because they both had, this is why I won't ever have a movie with musicians in it again, because it's like musicians play shows and tour all the time. So we had them there, and then at the last minute, Mike couldn't do it, but I already had John Latham in the car headed down to Murfreesboro, and I was like, well, look, we're going to figure this out no matter what. That's it. They're like, well, how can we have the scene where the Magic Man kills Willie if the Magic Man's not there? And I was like, I had just watched Brian De Palma's Sisters like the day before, and I was like, there's a scene in it, Sisters, where murder happens, and it's all silhouetted on the wall. And I was like, we're just going to silhouette. We have his clothes here. You put his clothes on. I'll silhouette you on the wall, and we'll have just this silhouette kill him. And it'll be like super uber dramatic. And, this is how we have to do it. This is the limitations we got to deal with. And that's how we did it. And then like, my wife was like, had the sriracha bottle and was going like this on the wall. I thought it's probably turned out cooler than how we originally were going to do it, where it was just going to be like this conversation-y kind of thing, It made it a little bit more artsy. Like I said, the thing about it, making a movie was doing something so, like I'm at the point in my life where I want to do things that seem so colossal, but basically like, I can desensitize them to myself somehow. Like I used to think like forever I wanted to make a movie, and I was just like, how do you do that? How can it seems so insane to make a movie. But it's like if we just do it and try to do it and stick with it, then we've done it. Then any other art project we try to do from this point on is going to seem so small, Because right after it, I went and recorded and produced a record, and I was just like, oh man, I can do this in like 2 months. I just spent like every day for a year doing this one thing, and it was crazy.